Hey everyone, from Myriad Technologies. We're just here today to run through the Office 365 changes that have happened over November and looking at what's coming up. I've got Shanaka here with me as well.
Hey guys, we're looking at a few updates that happened or announced during the last few months. The plan is we'll go through each of the updates and try to give you some insights on each one. First update that I would like to bring up was the SharePoint Admin Center. So there's a few updates that's coming up during the next couple of months. Microsoft is looking at releasing all the updates by end of February. Things like replacing the root site, permission panels, paper cards, additional site level sharing settings. A few of the updates that we are looking at for the Admin Center.
So most of those were previously PowerShell functions that we had access to, and they're now just bringing them into the UI. Is that right?
That's right. So till last month, I guess, replacing the root site was a PowerShell command, and I think beginning of February, it'll be a UI setting that you can change.
Cool.
So the next update that I would like to bring up is the SharePoint home sites. So this has been released for targeted release, tenants that are on the target release. Microsoft is looking at releasing releasing the updates by January 2020. And what this means is any communication site that you have within your tenant can be nominated as your SharePoint root site, and that'll be a few lines of PowerShell code that can be run to do this change. I guess the next update is the Power Platform self-service purchase capabilities. So there was a lot of hype about this during the last couple of weeks, when Microsoft announced that they're going to enable self-service purchase capabilities for end users. What this means is an end user who would have this setting enabled will be able to purchase any of the Power Platform licenses, such as Power Platform products, such as Power BI, Power Apps, and Automate. The good news is Microsoft is looking at giving some control to the admins, where they can run a few lines of PowerShell code to limit this capability. So starting from 19th of November, you'll be able to turn off this setting for a user, and you'll have to act before the 14th of January, because that's the day that they are looking at releasing this capability to all the users or all the tenants, and they'll start from Power BI.
So if you don't go and run this PowerShell script, it means that any user within your organization can turn around and buy those products.
That's right.
Which means that as a business, I could end up with, if I've got 1,000 users, I could have 1,000 different Power BI licenses that I haven't budgeted for and haven't allowed for.
Correct.
So yeah. So good idea to go through, update your settings to disable the ability to do self-service purchase.
And one thing that I would like to add is by default, it'll be enabled. So you have to go and disable it. Another update on SharePoint is, so Microsoft is looking at retiring the SharePoint reports that we all were used to with the classic experience. So they are looking at replacing that with the modern site usage reports. And they are looking at doing this by the end of February. And if you have any solutions that you are using the classic reports, you'll need to act before the 28th of February 2020. Another update is the user profile experience for Office 365 user. As you would know, there's a very rich experience for the user profile for a user on Office 365, and Microsoft is looking at adding more functionality. So things like my apps and my groups will be new options for a user where they can go and add or delete or work on those areas.
So Microsoft are really trying to extend that self-service capability and put more of the onus of information back in the hands of the users as opposed to being controlled by IT.
Yes, I guess that's right.
Cool.
And Microsoft is looking at completing this update by the end of the year. I guess another update on SharePoint is the file hover cards. So as you would have seen, there's a really good rich experience at the moment with Office 365 compared to our on-prem experiences. So we are getting more updates on things like people who viewed the items and the conversations. So if you had a document that you was collaborating on, say, Outlook or Teams, all those conversations will be recorded against that item, and you'll be able to see those things, see those links, I guess. And these settings can be controlled by a tenant level as well as a site level.
So as a tenant admin, I can turn it on or off depending on what I want people to see.
That's right. And Microsoft is looking at completing this update by February 2020. Another update on SharePoint user experience is the list experience, where now you can expand and collapse a list. So I guess with all the updates that we are getting on list and libraries, that's another add-on that's Microsoft is looking at doing, and we are to get this update by end of November. Another cool update is the reports for external shared content. So now site admin has the capability or the power to run a report to see what documents have been shared externally, and things like the expiration dates on links and things like that.
So nothing to do for that, it's just going to appear and site admins will be able to do that, or site owners?
Site admins.
Site admins?
Yeah.
Cool. And by the end of this month, by the end of November?
End of November, yeah.
So pretty much should be rolled out and available now.
Another update on the security and compliance center area is the information governance and record management capabilities. The updated capabilities will be available on the Office 365 Compliance Center. Earlier we had these things on the Office 365 Security and Compliance Center, but they are looking at moving all these updates to the Compliance Center, and any update on these products are looking to be landed on that area. And we are looking at getting this update by the end of November.
So I guess one of the other things that you'll see here is Microsoft's consistent branding that they're working towards around Microsoft 365 as opposed to just Office 365. So what that means is the Compliance Center now starts to incorporate things like not just from Office 365, but across the entire suite of Microsoft 365. So they will be bringing in things from your desktop applications and desktop environments eventually into this area as well.
Yep. Update that we are looking at on the retention labels for SharePoint Online and OneDrive is so we had the option to assign a label and declare a document as a record. So update that we are getting for that functionality is you'll get the records toggle name, new toggle named record status. So you can flip on those statuses and undeclare a record, which means that you'll be able to work on that undeclared document, and the declared version of that document will be held on the prevention hold library.
So it's basically just adding extra capability around automation for labels, as opposed to us having to go into the admin center and configure a lot of policies. Is that right?
And at the same time, giving more power within a label. So yeah.
So making labels a lot more useful.
That's right. Another update on SharePoint is the organizational news audience targeting capabilities. So now you can, or a person who authors a news article is capable of audience targeting article, and you'll get options within the news post where you can assign a Active Directory, Azure Active Directory group to be able to access these content.
So unlike previous audience targeting within SharePoint, where we had to go and create audience groups and prepare those targets and then assign those to web paths, we can now just go, as someone's creating a news article, say, look, we should make this available to HR, or we should target this or push this towards the IT team, for instance, and just use the straight out of the box standard Azure Active Directory groups that we have. So making it a lot more accessible to users. It's a lot more easier for content creators to push their content to specific groups of people within the organization.
That is very true, because the overhead that we had earlier was a lot.
It's a lot of administration overhead for a SharePoint admin to actually manage audiences.
To get that started, yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Another update on SharePoint and OneDrive for labels is the sensitivity labels. So now you are able to work with a sensitivity label, where if you assign a sensitivity label for a document, the document will be capable of, or it will be consumable within the Office 365 applications. Things like e-discovery, data loss prevention, search, and delve will be able to see this document or work with this document, because previously, if you had a sensitivity label attached to a document, those services wasn't able to see or work with those documents.
So any content that was labeled with a sensitivity label, such as confidential or secret or anything like that, was then excluded from all of those other services because they were classed as sensitive.
That's right.
Whereas now all of the services across Office 365 will consume those labels, be able to report back, be able to actually find things based on a particular label or category or sensitivity.
So a cool update on Power Apps was the integration with SharePoint libraries. So we are to get this update by end of November. So far, we had only capability within SharePoint library. Now it's extended to SharePoint list. Now it's extended to SharePoint libraries.
Power Apps for documents. Cool.
Yeah. So we are getting sensitivity labels for teams as well, and you'll be able to regulate things like whether the team is a public or a private team, or things like guest access at the tenant level. So a user or a team that has this label will be able to regulate things like that.
So being able to restrict then, if a team is labeled as confidential, does that mean that we can't share it out with guests? Things like that?
That's right. So the even a team owner will be restricted to share this team with an external party.
Oh, that's good. I wonder if they'll then apply that to any content within the team. So if all the files and that will also get tagged. That'll be an interesting thing to see.
Yeah, that I guess, yeah.
We'll wait and see how it actually implements.
Yeah. And we are looking at getting this update by the end of December. Another update on Teams is we are getting tags for Teams, so you can now tag content or conversations within Teams. So how this will work is you'll be able to tag members in a team. So as an example, if we had an accounts team and if we had members for payroll, tag with the payroll tag, and if you send a message that with the tag with payroll, only the people who are tagged with payroll will see that message. So you'll be able to distribute or communicate using those tags.
So does that mean within a channel itself, we can start to target messages to particular groups of people rather than having to create multiple channels for specific messages?
Yeah, that's a way you can do it. Because on the general conversation area, you can, then you'll be able to target different groups of members. Another cool update on Teams is the notification options that you are getting for colleagues who join the team. So now you are able to set things like a banner and a feed update, or only a feed update when a new a team member or a colleague joins a team. And we are looking at getting this update by mid-January next year.
So it's really trying to promote that collaboration and promotion of people as part of the team, and when they join, bringing them in, making them feel part of the team.
Another cool update on Power Teams is for external access. Now we are getting rich capabilities. Things like now you are able to communicate with external users using stickers and mentions and images. So the Teams is looking at increasing, or the Teams team, the Microsoft product team is looking at increasing the look and feel or the experience for the end users.
So again, just expanding that collaboration capability and beyond the internal organization out to other people, and allowing them to have the same experience and the same, I guess, social capabilities that we've got within an organization.
Yeah. And we are looking at getting this update by end of December, so end of this year. Another update on Teams for self-service access for users in a hybrid tenant. So organizations that are in the middle of migrating to the cloud, so in a partially synced scenario, you'll be able to give access to members who are not currently synced up to your Azure AD for Teams. So people who are not still synced up will still be able to use the Teams application using the self-service access.
So this is really cool because we've got a few clients that are in the process of migrating to Office 365 right now, where they don't necessarily have Azure Active Directory sync in place. So this means that they can still leverage Teams, but not actually necessarily have to have all of the users exist within Azure AD.
Mm-hmm. And we are looking at getting this update by the end of this year.
So I guess what they're doing is probably treating them kind of like external users within Teams, but now that we've got those other changes to Teams coming as well, that brings external users as part of your team, the difference is now kind of a moot point. There's not a lot of difference in capability between an internal and external user. So I suppose that's how Microsoft are able to achieve it.
That's right. So if you go for the OneDrive updates for this month, you are getting an update on save for later on files. So now you are capable of tagging a document to say that save for later. And what this will do is it'll move this document or have a link within the save for later section on OneDrive for easy accessible for the user.
So I guess that's really good if you, like me, use OneDrive to store all of your documents. So anything that comes in from emails, anything, jump onto the internet, you're downloading content, chuck it into OneDrive. On a busy day, I can pull down, 20 or 30 different documents, and I might not want to actually look at all of them. I might want to just tag a couple of those and say, yep, I want to look at these ones later. So hit them with tag, save for later. Then I can go back and have a look at that folder later and see across all of the different folders within my OneDrive, different areas, just all of those files that I've tagged.
And we are looking at getting this update by March 2020. The cool update for OneDrive was the request for files option. So now you are able to say create a folder and request for files on that. So what that will do is it'll send an invitation to a person or an Excel person that you invited for requesting files, and that person will be able to upload documents for under this folder that you created. This will be security trimmed as well. So the owner of the folder will be able to see all the documents, but the external parties that uploaded documents will only be able to see their own documents.
I love the security aspects of this, because if you think about it in the context of things like data rooms, potentially this allows us to move to using native applications instead of having to build custom solutions for be able to, organizations send a request out to counterparties, to third parties. For instance, send out a request for tender. You could actually use this feature to push that out to 4 different vendors, and then that vendor could upload their tender into this document library, but without being able to see all of the other responses from the other vendors.
And and we are looking at getting this update by the end of this year. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Another update on Teams was they are providing guest access for our Google accounts. So far, we had to it had to be a Microsoft account that we were able to provide external access to. But now they are updating capabilities for Google as well. And we are to get this update by end of this year.
So adding external users in Teams now no longer have to have a Microsoft account. So it's either a Microsoft Live account or an Office 365 account or a Gmail
account.
Cool. Yeah.
I guess that's it for this month. Those are the updates that I thought I'll bring up. And I do have a few more updates for that I saw on Microsoft Ignite, which I'll highlight on the next session. So if you have any questions, please feel free to drop us an email on info@myriadtech.com.au. Would like to thank Andrew for joining and going through all these updates. We'll see you next time.